recent article that I'm checking out right now. It's 4:30 in the morning, and I'm getting up and talking about this because, man, when I read an article about this, it really hits home. Now, some of you may or may not have heard about the Primus's drummer, Tim Herb Alexander, decision to leave the band, just this abrupt decision. And, if you're a fan of Primus, and they're an interesting band, I can't say that I'm a huge fan, or I listen to them or watch them. But I am certainly a fan of the fact that they're out there doing it, and they're playing interesting music, and they've built a loyal fan base, and that is an incredible, incredible thing. But the reality is, he got off the road, and at first, it says that, they received an email saying he had lost his passion for playing. And now he has come out and he has given the full extent and the full reason behind this. And man, it hits home. I've been out there, I've been on the road, I've done it. It was certainly a lot of fun and a very valuable experience, and I'm very thankful that I got to do it, because it gives me something to relate to and talk to you about on this channel, and that is a great fellowship. If any of you out there have experienced this, or your own experiences on the road, I'd love to hear about them in the comments. But man, this article, it appears that his departure was October 29th. And he had told his bandmates that he lost his passion for playing. And he has joined the band in 1989. He left in 1996. And then he rejoined when they reformed in 2003. He exited the group again in 2010, but returned in 2013. This is a very specialized band. It requires a special type of talent. And certainly, this guy must be the guy. He is probably the guy for this band. And, when you lose the guy, it becomes very difficult to get another player that is the same. But man, the road is a very, very difficult thing. And, the reality is, his story, and man, when I read this, I felt every word. And if I had been a father while I was out on the road, man, the pull to come home would have been even more great. But, for me, it was a similar situation. I didn't make the decision to step away from the road. The road made the decision to step away from me. But man, and I almost had a chance to come back. And I was thankful that I had immediately gotten other work in town, steady work, 4 or 5 days a week in Nashville, playing at BB King's. And so I didn't have to go, okay, I'll come back. And so, but man, his statement here, I know there are a lot of questions about why I quit Primus, and feel it's important to share my story for myself as well as our fans. Stepping away from Primus has been one of the most challenging decisions of my life, but ultimately it came down to love for myself, my family, and the life I want to create moving forward. I chose a path of love. With regard to what I said to the band about losing my passion for playing, I did say that, but I also said all of these tours left me feeling empty. My body hurts constantly. This context is important. I also told them they deserve someone who wants to be there. And I meant it. And as far as abruptly goes, I suppose there's never the perfect time to leave something you've been a part of for so long. Bands have their own inner workings and are a relationship. Sometimes it doesn't feel balanced, and sometimes it doesn't work out. Over the past months, I've been in a place of deep healing and intensive mental health rehabilitation, learning to confront struggles I've carried for years. In this period of solitude, I've started to see with new clarity what no longer serves me. The people and situations that do not support my well-being and the parts of my life I need to let go of to find peace and stability. When I first joined Primus, I was 24 years old. I'm almost 60 now. And not just a drummer, but also a husband and a dad. Being a drummer for almost 4 decades has taken its toll on my body. As I said previously, my body hurts, my hands hurt, my back hurts. 10 years ago, I had open heart surgery and am still dealing with the aftermath. For so many years of my life, I slept, breathed, and lived the music, giving it everything I had, and often at the expense of both my physical and mental health. Drumming is a strenuous profession, and coupled with touring and performing, it can be exhausting on every level. But I love drumming and always will. Just as I will always hold so much love and appreciation for our fans, the music we made, the places we went, and everything I learned along the way. When we were coming up as young musicians, it was a different world than it is today. There wasn't a focus on how this life affected us. It just wasn't talked about. I no longer feel the need to hide the fact that for the last year, I wasn't happy. I was in a dark place emotionally. I desperately missed my family while on tour and felt very lonely. My decision to leave the band was rooted in a deep need to prioritize my mental and physical health. I want to give my family the presence and energy they deserve and take care of myself in a way that allows me to thrive. I view the next chapter as a positive, fresh beginning that can hopefully inspire others to speak and live their own truths, even when it's hard. I wish the band continued success, and to the fans who have stood by me, I want to thank you for your compassion and words of kindness. Your support has been a source of strength for me, and while I'm closing this chapter, I'm excited to explore a new path forward, one grounded in love, respect, and health. Man, I had to read that whole thing because, man, so much of it, when you've been out there and done it, so much of this stuff just hits home. I can't imagine having, heart surgery and you're still out there. The aches and pains I've talked about in other videos. I've talked about the emotional and physical toll of touring. I've done videos on PTSD, on touring. This explains it all. And man, drummers have it harder than anybody else out there on the road. The physical toll on his body. Listen to what he is saying. For anybody that thinks it's easy to go out there and play music and travel and do all this stuff, man, you wouldn't last a weekend. I don't care. If you're working 10 hours in a factory every day, yes, that is very hard work. But there's something about that constant movement, constant travel, and never really getting, solid sleep and the physical toll, man. It's a physical toll, and I know people in all works of life, their jobs take a physical toll. If you're an athlete, it's a physical toll. If you're a factory worker, there's a physical toll. But man, it's like he said. When he started in the business, no one talked about these things. And no one, it's not a widespread thing for people to talk about the toll emotionally and physically on people that are touring musicians. But man, this is a very, very real thing. And I know the allure of the spotlight and the allure of fame and maybe people think you're going to make, lots of money being in a rock and roll band. I don't know, man. Everybody's journey is different, but, and look, not everybody is going to feel the emotional and physical toll like this guy did. But man, their music is very challenging. And I could imagine playing that stuff every night with the hills and valleys that Primus has. And you don't know about the inner workings, the inner relationships, man. There could be conflicts. There could be, whether it's band conflicts or crew conflicts, or maybe, being sort of not a headlining act, but being a kind of a mid-level touring act for Primus. I don't know what they make, a year or a gig or any of that, but all of these things factor into how hard it is, even if all he has to do is show up and play the show and maybe play the sound check. And it can still be a brutal toll on the body. And this is a guy who had heart surgery and came back and is still out there playing. I mean, I know Primus is an intense group. I've heard their music. I understand what that guy's got to do. He's got to go from super quiet and dynamic to, heavy thrash funk. I don't know what you would even call their music. Thrash funk? I don't know. Let me know in the comments, what is Primus? What is it? I'm not even sure what it is. But man, this is such a real thing that I'm going to call this the end of the road, because the end of the road happens for all of us. And I know the Rolling Stones are out there still doing it, and I know they've got the most money of any group out there, so they can afford all their own. I had heard way back in the day, this is probably like the late 90s, when I was playing with a artist that was, playing gigs around Nashville. And they had a friend that worked for the Rolling Stones. And the Rolling Stones would have a defibrillator on the road with them. And I guess one of the spouses or something had OD'd a few times and the defibrillator had been used. Those guys have got 24/7 medical care, probably have a doctor on staff. They're monitored. They've got all these things, and all the benefits of all that. But man, Primus can't travel with a doctor. Primus, doesn't have medical staff, on board and nurses and things like that. And the reality is, man, it's a physical and mental toll. And those heartstrings, look, man, your family is at home and they're growing, your kids are growing up, and you're out there playing for the, those crowds. And yeah, it's exciting, and yeah, it's a great thing to be able to get to do it, but you're missing so much. And every time you come home, you're like a stranger, man. When you're gone 2-3 weeks at a time, and then you come home and they have no idea what you just went through, and you're coming home and they're like, Dad, and you're maybe even looking different, you're feeling different, you're coming home and you're extremely sore. So then, your kids, when they see you, they want to hug you. They want to play with me, Dad, play with me. And maybe he has to come home and just totally go in the room, shut out the light, and just try to lay there. And you're laying there and you're literally like vibrating in your bed. I don't know. If we've got any road warriors out there, I'd love to hear your feelings on this in the comments, man. I think this is something that needs to be talked about more. I know, you know, it's a privilege to get to go out there and play music and play for thousands of people and have a great time. But the reality is this, man, it takes a serious toll on your body, man. It takes a serious toll on your mental and physical well-being. And, you know, the heartstrings of home, you know, your wife or your girlfriend or your family or your kids are all back there and they have no idea what you're going through. And maybe the interpersonal conflicts. I mean, you know, maybe he doesn't get along with the other members of the band. Maybe there's a disconnect there. Maybe he doesn't get along with members of the crew. Maybe there's pressure. Maybe there's all kinds of things going on that you just have no idea what he has to deal with, you know, on a daily basis. And, you know, when I read this article, you know, sometimes I'll get up. This is like 4:30 in the morning. I'm making this video for you. And, you know, I'll get up very early in the morning and, you know, I'll just click on a rock news site. And I saw this article and I just, man, I just knew immediately I have got to do a video on this. And it's not about Primus. It's not about Herb the drummer. This is about a lifestyle and a job and employment that can take a serious toll on the body. But for everyone, even if you're the Rolling Stones, even if you're, you know, Bruce Springsteen, who's still going, or, you know, look at what happened just a few months ago. I had said, oh, you know, which band is going to retire first? And I mentioned REO and Judas Priest and these other bands. And sure enough, REO. Now, it looks like because of, you know, something going on with the tension and the bass player and the singer and this and that the actual band REO might be toast. Maybe Kevin Cronin comes out and goes solo. But man, it all eventually ends, whether you're Elvis keeling over in the bathroom, you know, that ended his tour. He was in the middle of a tour when this all happened. He was set, I think, that day to, you know, to fly somewhere or get on a bus or whatever. And, you know, it just ends. It either ends like that or it ends like this, with someone saying, I'm done. I'm out of here. I can't do it. I have to look out for my own mental health. But either way, we all come to the end of the road.